Hello everyone and welcome to Civic Platform. This is your host Zuher Almusre. Today I am in Winnipeg covering a session titled Financial Awareness for Senior. So this session it's organized by Canadian Islamic Wealth to help our seniors to understand more about their financial situation. So let's find out how this session help our community to be more stable and confident. So in this new episode from Civic Platform.
Hi Zuher, my name is Jesse with Canadian Islamic Wealth, and I'm so excited to be here today for this wonderful event, Financial Awareness for Seniors. So today we're going to be talking all about financial awareness for seniors. This is going to give them a whole range of ideas on how they can manage their money and their wealth in a halal way. Not only that, but we're also going to be looking at things like how much they can expect from the Canada Pension Plan, how much they can expect from old age security, other sources of retirement income, as well as planning their funeral, planning their wills, and even preparing to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who should attend this event? Well, it can be anyone from any walk of life. However, this specific presentation is geared towards the Muslim community and the specifics involved with Islamic investing. That being said, everyone can use these tips and advice in order to help plan out their retirement, plan their journey through retirement, and even look at end-of-life scenarios. So what is the most challenging thing that seniors face? Well, it all depends on who you look at, but specifically from our community, one of the biggest challenges I think is the culture shock. One of the biggest issues that a lot of our community face is they believe one of two things. Either one, the government is going to be there to take care of them the entire way through retirement, or their family is going to be there to take care of them all the way through retirement. Both of them are good ideals, but there are some scenarios that people need to look at and plan for just in case. So what am I going to be doing today? I'm going to be talking about the 3 phases of retirement. The first one is pre-retirement. Am I going to have enough? The second phase is retirement. Will the money last? And how do I plan and budget my expenses now that I'm no longer working? And the final phase is making sure you're ready to meet God, ready to meet Allah. This involves planning out your Islamic will. This involves making sure everybody's on board with things like power of attorney, wills, and estates. And this is making sure that everything is taken care of in the right way before you move on to meet Allah. So the last thing I want to add is if you're someone who is nearing retirement, in your phases of retirement, or coming towards perhaps the end of your life, and you're looking for a second opinion on your finances, reach out to us at Canadian Islamic Wealth. That's 204-599-4418, and we're happy to help you all along your journey. Thank you all for joining, and we're about to get started. Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu Rasulullah. Thank you everybody for coming, and I'm so happy to be here at the Manitoba Islamic Association's Financial Awareness for Seniors. This is a really important topic and one that I think doesn't get talked about enough, especially within our community. We don't really do I haven't seen since I've been Muslim, which is 8 years now, any sort of financial literacy for seniors. So mashallah, this is a great initiative and I'm happy to help in any way I can. So My name is Jesse. My company is Canadian Islamic Wealth, and our mission is to help Muslims all across the country grow their wealth in a halal way. I myself have been Muslim for 8 years now, and I've been in the financial services industry for 10 years. I've worked for some very large wealth management and investment firms in the country. I've worked at Investors Group, I've worked for National Bank Financial, and I came to the realization in 2019 that there was no way that I could truly offer halal financial advice at one of these larger institutions, because consistently, if it's one of these things that doesn't make them enough money, they can come along and say no more halal investing. So that's why I created Canadian Islamic Wealth, as a way to unapologetically invest in accordance with Islamic values. The last thing I want to mention is I have 2 going on 3 certifications in Islamic finance from Ethica Institute and different things like this. One thing that you guys should all note, that the opinions, the rulings, the standards that I follow are AAO-IFI standards. So I realize and I recognize that there are a bunch of Islamic finance standards out there when it comes to Sharia compliance, investments, different things like that. If you follow a different one, mashallah, that's good for you. We follow AAO-IFI. And so every single opinion, every single ruling, every single investment recommendation that we make is all based on their set of Sharia standards. So if you follow a different one, no problem, but the standards that we follow for all of our clients will be these. And it's kind of a take it or leave it attitude. So before we get into the sort of meat and potatoes of the discussion, I think a lot of us will benefit from just kind of understanding what's been going on in the markets as of late. If you are an investor, if you've been invested, if you have any money with your bank or financial advisor or whatever the case may be, you've probably noticed that the markets have been down. Maybe your investments have gone down, whatever the case may be. So here's what's happening. Number 1, inflation. Inflation remains at all-time highs, at rates we haven't seen in years. And so in order to combat this inflation, what's happening is the Federal Reserve and Bank of Canada are raising interest rates as a way to sort of try to bring this down. And what this is doing, it's causing lots of volatility in the markets. So if you are invested in any type of stocks, any type of equity, any type of bonds, you've probably seen some major fluctuations in your investment account, and you just need to know that this is kind of the reason why. This volatility is probably not going away anytime soon. Most economists say that this will continue for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And it could go on longer than that. It is very likely that we are going to see an economic recession in 2023. We're likely to see housing prices drop in 2023. So these are all pieces of information that you just need to understand. It's coming. There's probably going to be some volatility involved. You're probably going to see some ups and downs in the value of your account. Your money probably isn't going to be able to buy the same as it was last year or the year before. In Manitoba, alhamdulillah, we're relatively lucky in a sense that these major fluctuations in inflation, in volatility, in housing prices, they tend not to affect us as dramatically as other places in Canada. So if you're someone who maybe owns property in the GTA or in Vancouver, you're probably going to see the value of that property drop fairly substantially in the next year or so. I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just telling you this is kind of what's going on so that you can do with that information whatever you see fit. So let's talk about why we're actually here. Financial awareness for seniors. And so what I've done is I've kind of broken down 3 financial phases for seniors that kind of come with some things here and there that you need to be aware of, and that'll hopefully help you plan, save, invest, do what you need to do in order to get the best results when it comes to your money, when it comes to your finances, and so on. So the first phase is pre-retirement. So if you haven't retired already, you're probably in a situation where you're coming close, you're looking at, okay, when I stop working, where's my money going to come from? How am I going to pay my bills, my expenses, everything like that. The second phase is going to be your actual retirement. So what is this going to look like? Are you going to be able to continue the lifestyle you've always lived? Are you going to have enough money to do the things that you want to do? Will the money last if you live to be 85, 95, 100? These are questions that all financial planners, all financial advisors should be asking you when they sit down with you to tell you how to manage your money. And if they don't, well, come to us. We're better anyway. And then phase 3, I would say, is coming towards the end of your life, preparing to meet Allah. Making sure that your will is in place and it's being taken care of in an Islamic way. Making sure that all the money that you have and are leaving behind is being taken care of in a halal way. If you come to a point in your life where your mental faculties aren't what they used to be, do you have someone that you trust who's in place who can make sure that all these decisions that are being made on your behalf are being made in accordance with your wishes, in accordance with what Islam teaches us? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. One thing I always like when I do these type of presentations is if you have a question, don't wait till the end, just jump in, ask the question as we go, because you're probably going to forget by the end of the presentation, so I'd rather answer it right then and there when we're kind of in the thick of it. So, pre-retirement, will I have enough? This is phase 1. So, we have a couple of government plans and government programs that a lot of people kind of count on when it comes to their retirement. But the question that you need to ask yourself is, will it be enough for your lifestyle, for your family, for your spouse, whatever the case may be? So the first one is the Canada Pension Plan. This is extremely common. Everybody who's had a job has seen that deduction every single paycheck for CPP, for the Canada Pension Plan. So if you have been over the age of 18 working in Canada and earning sort of the maximum amount of Canada, or putting the maximum amount into the Canada Pension Plan, the best you can hope for is $1,253.59 per person. So if both you and your spouse have been contributing the maximum amount to the Canada Pension Plan, the best you can hope for is $1,253.59. Yes?
Doesn't matter how many years you have worked in the workforce, or it doesn't depend on that?
Yeah, yes, it does. Yes, it does. So basically, you will have had to contribute for about 20 to 25 years the maximum amount of Canada Pension Plan to receive this amount of money. The average benefit is about $727.61 for every single Canadian. So people have been earning the most, they're earning the least, somewhere in between, $727.61 per person. So if you split that between you and your spouse, that's about $1,400. But in my opinion, I don't think this is the right amount for our community. I think you should really consider a less amount to depend on from Canada Pension Plan. And the reason I say that is because a large portion of our community is an immigrant community. They haven't been working their entire lives in Canada, unfortunately. And so the amount that you can expect from Canada Pension Plan is likely going to be lower than this average $727.61. A lot of people may make it, they may have more, they may have less. There's no way to know for sure. But what I would say is plan for less, because the reality is a lot of us will likely have less when it comes to our Canada Pension Plan. Yes? Sorry? It's typically a fixed amount based around your income for Canada Pension Plan. And in my opinion, if you do want to put more away for your retirement, there are better methods of doing it than the Canada Pension Plan, in my opinion. The second benefit that you can depend on is going to be old age security. So old age security, it doesn't really matter about contributions as much. This is paid for by general tax revenue, right? So a portion of every tax dollar that's collected from every single Canadian goes to supporting seniors in their old age. And so that benefit from the age of 60, first of all, you'll only qualify for that at the age of 65, and then it'll be $685.50. Once you reach the age of 75 and over, it's about $754. So this is your old age security. So there's Canada Pension Plan, there's old age security. Let me go back for a second. Canada Pension Plan, you will have an option. You'll have the option to take it early, take it at 65, or delay. If you take it early, the government does penalize you for doing so. If you take it at 65, like I said, the maximum you're going to get is that $1,253.69. If you delay taking the Canada Pension Plan, they will increase that amount. But depending on, factors like what you've contributed, what your needs are, et cetera, that will determine how much you get paid for Canada Pension Plan. The one thing I will say about Canada Pension Plan that you should note is that if you do take it early, let's compare two people. One person starts taking their Canada Pension Plan at 60, the other takes it at 65. The person who takes it at 60 will get less money, but the person who takes it at 65 will get more. But the person who takes it at 60 will have 5 years of money that they receive from Canada Pension Plan before the person who takes it at 65 receives 1. So a bunch of financial planners got together and they sort of did some math and they figured the person who takes it at 60 is financially ahead of the person who takes it at 65 until you guys reach the age of 75. And then the person who took it at 65 is richer than the person who took it at 60. Hope that makes sense. It's kind of a fun fact. So the last thing that you can kind of count on the government for is this assumes that you're low income, right? So if you are a low income senior citizen in Canada and you're taking your Canada Pension Plan and you're taking old age security, if those are kind of the only two areas where you're getting income from, you will also likely qualify for the guaranteed income supplement. So if you are a married couple, for example, and you're living on Canada Pension Plan old age security and you're under the income threshold, you'll likely also get $431.99 each as a guaranteed income supplement. Once you hit a certain amount of income, the government will claw this back. So this is specifically reserved for people who are lower income senior citizens. They can qualify for the guaranteed income supplement. If you are a single senior citizen, they will double that amount. It'll be about $900 for you as an individual. If you're married, it'll be 2 payments, 1 to each person. So these are the main benefits that you're going to receive from Canada Pension Plan. Yes, or from the Canadian government. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that most of our community is immigrant, right?
Yeah.
So how long you have to live in Canada in order to get these benefits?
So with Canada Pension Plan, you'll get some version of this benefit. Like no matter how long you've been in Canada, it's all about how much you've contributed to the Canada Pension Plan. It just won't be as high because you haven't been contributing as long. So if you've only worked in Canada for 20 years, the likelihood of you hitting this average of $720, $761, unless you're in a really high paying job, is quite low. With the old age security, I will have to double check because I don't remember off the top of my head. I believe anyone who's a senior citizen, who's like a Canadian citizen in Canada, will receive this benefit, but I think there might be some age restrictions. I don't know, but I will double check on that. I don't know. So those are kind of the things that you can depend on from the government. And so the question is, if you think to yourself, well, that's not enough, right? What do you do? And that's where working with that's where looking at other sources of retirement income comes in, right? So maybe you were setting money aside, you have things like your RSPs that you can pull from. Maybe you worked at a company, maybe you worked for Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, maybe you worked as a teacher or a government. You can rely on some of the pension money that you've received as another way to supplement that income. Maybe some of you have rental properties, different things like that. And one of the most common ones I hear within our community is, oh, I don't need to plan for my retirement. I've got lots of children. They're going to take care of me. MashaAllah. That's my wife's retirement plan, is to have lots and lots of kids. She's Somali. So I'm taking the Canadian approach. I'm assuming they're going to just do their own thing. But the whole point is to sort of do a little bit of planning ahead of time, if you can, right? To realize that even if you get the maximum Canada Pension Plan benefit, even if you get the maximum old age security, and even if you get the maximum guaranteed income supplement, which in my opinion is unlikely for our community, best case scenario, you might be looking at, $4,000 per family, right? $4,400 per family. Which, things are getting more and more expensive. And these benefits do, of course, keep up with inflation, but it's hardly enough to kind of live beyond very basic and simple livelihood, right? And so you got to ask yourself what's important, right? If it's important to you to just sort of stay close to home, stay close to grandchildren, have enough food on the table, things like that, you'll probably get by okay, assuming you qualify for the maximum benefits. But if you don't, then it's all about planning and making sure that there is going to be some alternatives there to help you supplement that income. And that's where I come in, right? We can help you set up investments, set up savings, set up retirement plans, different things like that, in order to help you maintain your investments and maintain your lifestyle over the long term. Okay, so this brings us to phase 2, right? And these are kind of coupled together, where you're planning phase 1, you're planning your retirement. And the second part of it is phase 2, will my money last, right? So what I have here is basically 2 scenarios, right? One scenario is someone who saved up $250,000 for their retirement and they're earning a 6% return. And this shows you how saving just a little bit over time can make a big difference in retirement, right? How much would an extra $1,000 a month help? An extra $1,500 a month. Assuming you're getting those maximum benefits, this extra $1,000, $1,500 can go a long way in order to supplementing and maintaining your lifestyle. If you had that $250,000 saved and you were taking $20,000 a year, assuming 6%, this money would take 17 years to run out, right? And if you manage to save $500,000, it'll take 50 years to run out, right? So in that retirement, if you're still in that first phase of planning and you're not quite there for retirement, I would highly encourage trying to get a little bit more together, because it can make a huge difference when you're in that phase of retirement. The second scenario would be, let's just say that's not an option for you, right? You only have whatever you have. In this example, it's $250,000. By changing up the investment structure just a little bit, scenario 1, you're only earning a 6% rate of return per year. And in the second scenario, you're earning an 8% rate of return. The difference is an additional 4 years of income just by changing up the investment selection. So you'll have an additional 4 years of income at $20,000 a year just by doing these minor adjustments. So the whole point of phase 2 is to figure out how you're going to live your life, how you're going to manage your expenses, how you're going to manage everything in a way that you can meet all of your obligations, meet all of your needs, but also have something there in a way to sort of supplement, just in case, for example, your kids can't take care of you and you don't have the necessary financial help. Okay, so we've been through phase 1, phase 2. Phase 2 is relatively simple, and a lot of the components of it are something that inshallah should be done, I would say, pre-retirement, right? Ideally, you want to give yourself time to implement all of these things, right? But if you are in a stage where maybe you're already retired and you do need a second opinion, or are looking for more tax efficient or different ways to kind of plan and anything like that, feel free to reach out at any point in time. We are absolutely happy to help. So phase 3, the last phase, and I think this is probably the most important phase, is preparing your assets and your resources for when you meet Allah. And so one of the biggest things, I think, and this is, of course I'm biased, but I think this is one of the most important, is making sure that your retirement income is coming from a halal source. So scholars unanimously agree that all the benefits that you receive from the government are fine, right? But the ones that you do have control over, we need to be very diligent in how those assets are managed. Because something I've seen time and time again is that I have many clients who've come to me with assets that are managed by RBC or TD or Investors Group. I go through the portfolio, it's filled with interest. It's filled with tobacco companies. It's filled with banks. It's filled with weapons companies. It's filled with so and so and so on, right? And if you didn't know, that's fine, right? But if you have the education and the knowledge that what you're invested in is not halal, right? You have to do something about it. Because we are all going to be questioned on Yawm al-Qiyamah about how we earned our wealth. So what I would suggest is, if you have your investments managed by somebody, anybody, try to find a way, and we will do this for free, someone to look at your portfolio and make a suggestion on how you can have it managed in a halal way. Especially in the last 10 years, there's a lot of halal investment options that are available so that you can change your portfolio in order to meet the Sharia compliance, okay? The second thing, and I think this is really important, is making sure you have a will in place, especially here in Canada. If you don't have a will in place, something that will happen is it gets left up to the government, and the government has their own kind of rules about how assets get divvied up, and we have our own rules, right? So, first they'll give it to your spouse, and then it goes to children, and then it goes to aunts and uncles and different things like that. But we have our own method that's mentioned in the Quran about how we ought to divide up our assets, right? So making sure you have a will in place that is specific and instructs people on how to do those things is really important, because otherwise it's not going to be taken care of. Yes? I don't. I'm not a lawyer. But there is a great resource online. It's called muslimwills.ca. So you can go to muslimwill.ca. You can fill out your information, and they can basically create an Islamic will for you. There are also some lawyers here in Winnipeg that do offer that service as well. I haven't worked with any of them in particular, but I believe Al Ghul and Associates has something, and I think there's a few other lawyers in town who've dabbled in this as well. So I would look them up and see if you can get some help from there. Sheikh Muhyiddin of Bilal Mosque also is very well versed in Muslim inheritance, so reaching out to him to ask him how to divide the assets properly would be a suggestion of mine. The other thing is make sure you have a discussion about your will with family members, especially perhaps some children who aren't as practicing. Inshallah, we all have children who practice the deen and are on the deen. But I have heard some sad stories where there were children that weren't necessarily practicing Islam properly. The Muslim will gets read. A daughter sees that she's getting less than her brothers, and she challenges it in court for being sexist and discriminatory and different things like that. So making sure you have those discussions about, okay, here's how this is going to be divvied up. This is why we're doing it this way, et cetera, is something really important to making sure that those wishes are fulfilled. And at the end of the day, if somebody does challenge it in court and whatever, it's not your fault, but it's just one of those things that I think would make, the transition a lot more smooth. And this was advice that I've received from some of my friends who are kind of in this space. The last thing I would say, or the last two things to keep in mind, is number one is power of attorney. If you get to a point where you don't have the same mental capacity, different things like that, having a power of attorney in place to make sure that the decisions that you would have made when you were fully mentally there are being made on your behalf, right? So make sure it's somebody that you trust, someone who I would say is good in the deen, different things like that, so that when different decisions are to be made, if a financial advisor, for example, comes along and say, hey, I want to invest your money in a weapons company, they can come along and say, no, we're not doing this, we're following Islam, right? So having that put in place is something that I think is very important. And the last thing, and another point I would like to make is just make sure that you give if you can, right? There's so much barakah in giving. Allah always blesses us with more if we can. So if you are in a position where you can give extra, especially when you're closer to meeting Allah, this is something that is highly encouraged. And it's something that our Prophet ﷺ did the closer he reached to his death. The last thing I wanted to briefly talk about is just financial abuse of seniors. So this is something that or at least I haven't heard too much about in the Muslim community, but it's something that we should be aware of, right? So one of the things that happens is when family members tend to get a little bit older and they don't have quite the same mental faculties as they once did, what has been making the rounds in sort of the financial services industry is that their children come in and sort of try to take advantage of the financial situation, which, a'udhu billah, inshallah, that never happens to any one of you. But just once again, this goes back to making sure that there's a power of attorney in place, that everything is in place that needs to be in place, so that if someone in the family kind of comes along and is trying to make financial suggestions to you that aren't going to be beneficial to you, you're protected, right? You're not stuck in a situation where you can't pay your bills and meet your retirement needs and everything like that because somebody came along and convinced you to buy Bitcoin when you absolutely should not be buying Bitcoin, as a senior citizen, right? So, and a lot of the time this can just lead to things like financial mistreatment. A lot of seniors can end up in situations where they are financially destitute. This can lead to the misallocation of their assets and even the theft of their money. Now again, I haven't heard any stories about this coming from the Muslim community. This seems to be a white people thing, but But it's just something to be aware of, right? You know, perhaps somebody marries outside the family, you never know, right? So just keeping that in mind, keeping all the things in place to kind of protect yourself, the power of attorney, the will, all this kind of stuff is really important. So that's kind of it. This was, and the last example I want to give you guys is a really common investment that I always see in Muslim investment accounts. So this is an RBC balanced fund. If you have a bank account with RBC or TD or Scotia or whatever the case may be, what will often happen is they will sit you down, they'll say, okay, you know, you're a senior citizen, we should take a balanced approach, we don't want to take on too much risk, et cetera, we're going to put you in this balanced fund. Or they'll say low risk fund, we'll put you, whatever, right? They'll have a fancy name like the high yield savings account. What you need to understand is that there are underlying investments inside of these funds, inside of these accounts, that are not halal. So if you take a look at this, you can see that the top 10 things inside this investment account, and you can do this with any fund, any bank, whatever. All you have to do is ask them, hey, I want to see the fund facts. They have to give it to you. And just look through the top 10 holdings. You'll see Royal Bank of Canada. They make all their money off of interest. Toronto Dominion Bank, they make money off of interest. Enbridge is okay. Canadian Natural Resources, they're okay. Bank of Montreal, interest. Bank of Nova Scotia, interest. Brookfield Asset Management, interest, right? So you're going to have a whole bunch of these holdings inside your portfolio that you can look at and just see, okay, how does it make its money? Is it interest? Do they make their money off of profit? Do they make their money off of selling alcohol, gambling, tobacco, adult entertainment, weapons, drugs? And make a change. And it's like, you don't have to just take whoever the guy is his word for it. Like, you can get the thing, bring it to me, I'll tell you, I'll do it for free. So that's basically it. This is the first session of, inshallah, a few more. I just wanted to give you kind of a brief overview of sort of financial planning and the approach that I take when it comes to my clients who are seniors and halal investment management, different things like that. If you do want a private consultation, if you do want a free portfolio review, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. But other than that, are there any questions? All right, guys, well, that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining us for this first of many events involving seniors and financial literacy. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. For more of a personalized approach, please reach out to us at CanadianIslamicWealth.com or reach out to me personally, 204-599-4418. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
We reached the end of our episode. Thank you for watching. If you find this episode helpful and had enough information for any senior in Winnipeg, please reach out for this organization to help you more and provide you more solution for your situation. So again, thank you for watching. If you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to see our upcoming episodes.